with a little luck, we've got the screen share on. Yeah, we seem to have slides, so we're going to move forward. So what I want to do is give you a quick introduction to the Ayrstone AyrMesh products. You may have seen some of them. You may not have seen all of them. I want to do a quick review of the products themselves and how they work, where they're used, and what they're good for. So moving forward here, I just want to review what is the Ayrstone AyrMesh system for those who may have misconceptions or just may not be as familiar with it as you may want. So what we've got is Wi-Fi, standard 802.11n access points that have standardized meshing protocols running on them, 802.11s. This is an IEEE standard, so it, with a little luck, it should be pretty much future-proof, give us the opportunity to introduce new products based on those protocols for some time to come. We build ours with high power and high gain antennas, so it's optimized for outdoor use. This is not the optimal capability for indoor use. What you want indoors is what's called MIMO, multiple antennas, to maximize indoor bandwidth and range. Outdoors, though, this is the optimal way to go. The units themselves are all lightweight and weatherproof so that they can be mounted outside easily and left outside for a very long time. The system is designed to extend a private local area network, or LAN, and this is an important point because it's not really suitable in a lot of ways for other applications that you may want, especially hospitality, where you don't want to have hotels guests or an RV park's guests on their local area network. You want to create a separate local area network for those folks, and you want to isolate them so they don't get into the park's operations. And it's also designed for a relatively small number of client devices, you know, whatever is connected to the network, spread out over a very large area. So we're talking about tens to hundreds of devices spread out over square miles. So it's built for sparsity, not density. All the other Wi-Fi products out there in the market are really built for density, being able to provide access to a large number of people in a small area. Ours is the only one that really focuses on the needs of the farmer, being able to connect a relatively small number of devices spread out over a very large area. So the AyrMesh Hub, I hope everyone's familiar with this. This is the building block of the wireless farm network. It's a very small, simple device, just has an Ethernet port in the bottom. You plug in an Ethernet cable that's connected to the power supply, and it's on the air. So you can start anywhere you have internet access. So typically it's at home or on the farm, in the farm office. In a lot of cases, farmers, though, may have better internet access somewhere else on the farm. You can just put in a little enclosure of some sort, bring their CPE, as it's called, the customer premises device, from the internet provider into that enclosure, and then start the network from there using hubs and or bridges. So you can literally start the network wherever you have internet access and expand out from there. Once you have it up, you have Wi-Fi access around that first hub. You know, if it's at your home or in your farm office, it's around the farm yard there. Now, the next piece is the AyrMesh receiver. It's technically a Wi-Fi client device. So what it does is it turns that Wi-Fi signal back into an Ethernet port. Why is this useful? Two things. First off, buildings, especially steel buildings. Wi-Fi will not go through most buildings, and it definitely won't go through steel buildings. So you put the receiver on the outside, run that Ethernet cable through a hole into the inside of the building, and connect it to the power supply, and you've got a LAN port there that you can connect anything to. Similarly, a lot of high-end equipment like grain dryers or IP cameras don't do Wi-Fi. They have an Ethernet port, they don't have a Wi-Fi radio. So you just set up an AyrMesh receiver, connect to that Ethernet port, and they're on the network. Looking at it like this, you see you have a building out there, you want to have a computer inside that building or something else. So you put the receiver on the outside of the building, bring that Ethernet cable in, and you've got a connection inside the building. For your grain elevator there, you've got some sort of an automated control that can go on the network. You put the receiver onto the grain elevator, and then you can plug that controller into the receiver, and it's on the network, up to 2 miles away from the hub. Now, another interesting product here is the indoor AP. It's just a dumb access point. Very simple. It connects onto the power supply of another AyrMesh product and provides indoor Wi-Fi. So you can't put this outdoors. It's not weatherproof or anything. It's just an indoor access point. The way you use it is, for instance, on our farm building here, you've got the receiver on the outside. You connect that indoor AP to the power supply. It snaps right onto the end, and then it just provides indoor Wi-Fi. You don't have to configure it. You don't have to do anything. It gives itself an SSID automatically, uses the same encryption passkey as the hub, and it's just there to provide Wi-Fi. Now, the cab hub is kind of the same idea, but a little different. This is just an AyrMesh hub, the same as any other hub, but it comes with a magnetic mount antenna that comes on a 6-foot cord, and a power cord that plugs into the cigarette lighter plug, the utility plug of a vehicle. And that could be a tractor, it could be a sprayer, it could be a combine, it could be a pickup truck or a big rig or an ATV for that matter out in the field. You just put this on there, and what it does is it connects to the nearest hub up to 2 miles away, and it provides you with a local Wi-Fi access point. So it's important to realize that your phone is not going to connect to a hub 2 miles away. It has a very weak Wi-Fi radio, but the hub has a very strong Wi-Fi radio. So the hub will connect to the other hub and give you local Wi-Fi so you can use your phone or your iPad or your laptop as long as you're in or near the vehicle. This also gives you the opportunity to collect data off of those in-cab variable rate computers, anything else you have in the cab, your harvest monitor, anything that will connect to Wi-Fi can connect to this. So that makes your network mobile and gives you the opportunity to spread it out even further, use it in all of your vehicles for a variety of purposes. Now, you can put additional hubs, what are called remote hubs, out up to 2.5 miles away from your gateway hub. So in this case, we've got 2 that are on the same chunk of land as the original hub and 1 that's separated a little ways. So those are all within 2.5 miles, and they will light up that area as the tractor moves around there. It will connect to whichever hub is closest and give you good local connectivity out in the field. Now, most farms, however, have fields that are more than 2.5 miles away. So that's where we bring in the AyrMesh bridge. Now, the bridge is a device that works as a 5-mile long Ethernet cable, but with no cables. So it includes 2 radios. One of them is connected to your network. One of them is placed out with whatever it is you want to connect to your network, just like an Ethernet cable. The upshot is that you can connect the bridge radios, use the bridge radios to connect different fields to each other. So in this case, we've got 2 of them that are connected to the router that are beaming out into those other fields. We've got 2 of them that are connected to those hubs, the one on the building in the upper right-hand corner and the one on a solar panel with a battery supply in the lower right-hand corner, that are beaming that signal out into fields that are up to 5 miles from those locations. And what happens then is you can restart the network and add hubs to the end of those receivers, to the end of those bridges rather, and then keep growing the network with additional hubs. As a matter of fact, you can even then bridge even further using additional bridges. So bridge off that far hub in the upper right-hand corner, or in the lower right-hand corner, bridge off of the same hub and go to a distant field and set up another hub so that you have Wi-Fi out in those fields. And then you can do things like set up remote weather stations or remote IP cameras or whatever you may want out in those distant fields. The bottom line is, with this product line, you have the tools to build a very large network for the farmer, and everything on that network will appear as if it's connected directly to his router, so that you can do things like port forward out to those things, put them on the internet, make them globally accessible, and make that farm more efficient. So there are always warnings here. Now, just remember, to keep the bandwidth usable, which we consider more than a megabit per second, don't go more than 3 hops across remote hubs. Now, the bridges don't count as a hop. So if you're bridging off of one hub and setting up another hub in the field, the one you're bridging off of is a remote hub, but the one out in the field is not. So you won't have a penalty for that. That way you can go a long distance. The second point is that the devices must be at least 25 feet above any obstruction. So they have to have not only clear line of sight from antenna to antenna, but they need to have a 25-foot radius around the line that goes from those antennas in order to work properly. So that is what's called the Fresnel zone, and that's always a good thing to look on Wikipedia. All right, so for those who are not aware, we have resources online. Ayrstone.com, especially the How It Works section, is absolutely vital. The Ayrstone blog at blog.ayrstone.com, I publish all kinds of articles there. I'll go through dry spells from time to time where I just don't have anything to say, and then I put out a whole bunch of stuff on there. Always check that for new articles, new ideas. And then, of course, support.ayrstone.com, which is our Zendesk support portal. All kinds of articles there on installation, troubleshooting, how the things work, questions and answers, things like that. So, without further ado, what I'd like to do is go to our Q&A here. And see if we've got any questions in the hopper. No questions yet that I see. So I'll check email as well and see if we've got any questions coming in that way. If you've got questions for me, you can put them on here or send them to bmoffat@ayrstone.com. I don't see any new emails coming in. So I'm going to give it a minute or so just to make sure there's nothing new. I'm going to stop the screen share here and bring up the little ball on here. But I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to say here. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact us. Again, my address, bmoffat@ayrstone.com. As always, if there's anything we can do for you, don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks very much. Have a good Tuesday.